Hello, this is the Review Space, and this is going to be a top 10 gaming franchises of the 7th generation. That's right, the game series that debuted and started in the 7th gen of the PS3, Xbox 360, and original Nintendo Wii. They only have to be franchises and series. They can't be, single games or individual solo releases that have no sequels. These are games that are actual franchises with sequels, and here we go. Number 1. The Saints Row series. Initially released as an Xbox 360 exclusive in 2006, the original Saints Row introduced us to what a 7th generation GTA-style game can be like. With improved mechanics, more accessible missions, customization, and a raunchy sense of humor, Saints Row has spawned 3 sequels and developed into the best alternative open-world third-person shooter gang-banging series for the 7th generation. While the storyline can get a bit wacky, the gameplay is way more carefree compared to the traditional GTA games that you just simply let loose and enjoy yourselves in Saints Row. It's a lot easier to lose the cops in the games, meaning you'll be spending more time blowing up cars with tanks and rocket launchers, eliminating gangsters and taking their territories, stealing vehicles on the street, gunning down enemies from a helicopter, smacking an enemy with a dildo. Saints Row doesn't mind getting dirty. Not to mention that you can actually play as female characters, not just a single, male default mandatory characters of other games. Titles in the series I highly recommend include Saints Row 2 and Saints Row the 3rd, both available for the PS3, 360, and the PC. Great franchise of the 7th generation. Number 2. The Dead Space series. Dead Space is easily the best survival horror third-person shooter series of the 7th gen. The original Dead Space carried the excellent Resident Evil 4 style gameplay from the 6th generation into the next era. The original Dead Space was a pleasant hit for the PS3 and the 360, and even the PC owners. Honestly, by pleasant, I mean scary as shit and full of intimidating and creepy-ass enemies. Aesthetically, the games borrow directly from popular sci-fi horror movies such as John Carpenter's The Thing and the Alien franchise. The weapons are sweet and just packed with sci-fi action. The upgrades make you feel like a badass, and killing those alien monster creature things limb by limb is very satisfying. The first Dead Space in particular, which was released in 2008, was developed by EA subsidiary Visceral Games. Yeah, EA actually making actual good games, albeit with some obvious money-grubbing DLC. That established the franchise and was honestly one of the best games of the year. Regardless, both Dead Space 1 and 2 are highly recommended for anyone who appreciates replayability in their games. Number 3. Bioshock franchise. I can't believe it's been 7 years since the first Bioshock came out. That's an entire high school run, plus a couple of years of community college. At the time, Xbox 360 was getting all the good games for the 7th generation. Bioshock was arguably Game of the Year in 2007, and the PS3 version didn't come out until late 2008. Fortunately, the games are still classic to this day, no matter which console, and have as much charm as they did all those years ago. I don't know what it is about Bioshock that makes it stand out. The humanity and the child-rearing qualities of the game, the immersive and dangerous world of Rapture, the cool character designs, weapons, and abilities. If you've never completed the Bioshock games, you haven't played shit for the 7th gen. I highly recommend starting with Bioshock 1, then ending with Bioshock 2. And then, play them all over again with the difficulty turned the fuck up. Number 4. Assassin's Creed series. Oh boy, developed by Ubisoft Montreal, Assassin's Creed debuted in 2007 for the PS3, 360, and the PC. The setup is very cool, deriving from the previous generation's Prince of Persia series. The historical Arabic assassins parkour their way across ancient historical rooftops, assassinating enemies called the Knights Templar. While the initial game was full of glitches and repetitive gameplay, Assassin's Creed 1, the second installment fixed many of the problems. Assassin's Creed 2, which was released in 2009, featured better gameplay, smoother storytelling, more mission variety, and an overall improved campaign. Needless to say, Assassin's Creed 2 was everything the first Assassin's Creed should have been in the first place, and Creed 2 actually received the highest scores in the entire series thus far. Not every game in the franchise stands out, and some of them are actually downright terrible, but the must-play experience include Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Gotta check those out for sure. Number 5. Dead Rising Series. 2006 was a breakout year for the Xbox 360, receiving multiple new IPs that defined the 7th generation. The first, Dead Rising, was released and provided the next-gen zombie-killing game experience at the time. Influenced by classic zombie movies like Dawn of the Dead of the late 70s, the main character fights their way across an ocean of zombies inside a shopping mall. You know, the traditional slow-moving zombies. And you gotta use various weapons and objects to kill and maim and attack the zombies and fight them off. An obvious display of the 7th gen power. Much more sprites and characters are generated on screen compared to the previous era of the PS2, GameCube, and original Xbox. The creativity and environment alone is enough to check out this completely unique experience for the PS3 and Xbox 360, particularly Dead Rising 2. Number 6. Sonic and Sega AllStars Racing Series. While Sonic is far from being a new franchise, we're all familiar with the Sonic characters. The Blue Hedgehog and his fellow mascots channel Mario Kart for a fresh 7th gen vehicle combat racing game. Despite its obvious Mario Kart influence, Sonic AllStars from 2010 provides the PS3 and the Xbox 360 some much-needed quality kart racing action that's been missing from these platforms for years. Great stage designs and variety, lots of weapons to use, some nostalgic and obscure Sega mascots, and a lot of challenges give us more reason to keep playing the AllStars Racing series. The sequel, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, was released in 2012 and is arguably even better than the first one. Both are worth checking out, but only for the main console versions. Stay away from the handheld versions and the lesser consoles. You know what I'm talking about. Number 7. The Uncharted Series. By late 2007, the PS3 was desperately lacking a killer app in its library. Well, here comes Naughty Dog to the rescue with Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Released on November 2007, Uncharted featured a male version of Lara Croft exploring through lush environments, searching for treasure, shooting enemies in third person, all presented with great production value and movie budget style storytelling. The voice acting and the campaign is great, the gameplay is very accessible, and the characters are quite endearing. All 3 console games, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, are worth checking out, but the strongest one in terms of gameplay and storytelling is Uncharted 2 from 2009. Number 8. No More Heroes Series. If there's one game franchise worth buying the original Wii for, it's the No More Heroes series. Originally released in late 2007 for the Wii, No More Heroes featured slick visual style, excellent beat-em-up gameplay, and a sharp sense of humor. The presentation is a great example of cartoonish violence and Japanese creativity, and has become an undersold franchise for Nintendo's 7th generation system. The second installment, No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle, released in early 2010 and was also met with high critical praise. It didn't sell that well, unfortunately, and the series itself was never the best-selling franchise compared to many other popular titles. But for the few of us who've actually played the No More Heroes games, What a fucking experience. Hopefully, they release a collection in the future or a next-gen sequel of some kind for the Wii U. Number 9. The Mass Effect series. BioWare is known for their quality RPG storytelling and gritty presentation. So when Mass Effect first dropped in 2007, the 7th generation fangasm for years. I mean, the game is pure science fiction heaven. Everything you can imagine being cool and interactive are available in Mass Effect. Laser pistols, customization, leveling up, layered storytelling about galactic conflict, exploring different planets, meeting sexy alien women. It just goes on. 100 years from now, in the future, I'm sure these games are gonna look so dated in terms of presentation, style, and gameplay, but for the moment, and for those few glorious years in the 7th generation, Mass Effect brought the classic sci-fi movies and TV shows to the next level. It brought them to life. It's the best thing we get to see the future, or at least some sort of science fiction future until, you know, the actual future. Number 10. The Gears of War series. I don't know what to say about Gears of War. On one hand, the first game is fairly overrated, but on the other hand, it was still a pretty damn good game. The series itself is very important and iconic for the Xbox 360's legacy. The first game in the franchise dropped on November 2006 with great anticipation. A lot of hype behind that one. And I remember those classic TV commercials for the game, particularly Mad World by Gary Jules. Gears of War summed up the mid-2000s perfectly. Going to war, aliens, shooters, Xbox Live, and 80s music coming back in more depressing fashion. The sci-fi military shooter, it's not perfect, but the quality and development time is evident in these games. The production value is great, and what Halo 1 and 2 did for the original Xbox, Gears of War 1 and 2 achieved for the 360. The PS2 had the God of War series, Nintendo has the Zelda series, and Microsoft has the epic Gears of War franchise. And that's it for the top 10 new IPs and new franchises of the 7th generation. These were the actual series and new franchises that were worth checking out, and in my opinion, the best ones of last gen, the 7th gen. What a great time to be a gamer. Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii, and even the PC, I guess.